Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are beginning a new topic for class 6 geography, chapter 1 locating places on the earth. It's a part 1 video where I'll include globes and latitudes topic. So let's begin right from the basics. So our first topic is what is a globe? A globe is a small model or we can call it as a true model of our earth. Everything which exists on the actual planet, which actually exists on our Earth, we can find very well over a globe. What kind of things can we find in the actual planet? Yes, exactly. The continents, the ocean, the country, and even major lines can be found over the globe as well. That's the reason why we call it a true model of our Earth. So, moving ahead, why do we require to use a globe then? Yes, to understand the Earth's shape, to locate different places, to see the distances and direction, and to understand the tilt and rotation of our Earth, we can use a globe. As I already told you that it's a true model, we can easily understand the shape of our Earth, and it is easy for us to actually locate different places rather than using a map. We can use a globe instead. And even for finding the distance and direction, we can use a globe. And many might be thinking what exactly the shape of the Earth might be. You might be thinking that it might be sphere or circle in shape. But exactly it is not a spherical in nature. Why? Because the earth that is, the earth's shape is actually flattened towards your polar region. That is, this area towards your pole, it is actually bulged or flattened. So we call this as geoid. So we say that our shape of the earth is geoid in nature. We don't call it as a sphere or circle, we call it as a geoid. Yes. So there are actually, when we look into the globe, we can find different kind of lines, which is actually helping us to find the different places. We can actually use these lines and find different kind of places located in the globe. So these are, one is your latitude, another one is your longitude. So in this video, I'll be covering the latitude topic. So yes. So what exactly a latitude is, we'll come to know by this explanation. Yes. So a latitude are imaginary horizontal lines. So these are horizontal lines which are imaginary. They will be running from your eastern direction towards your west. So what happens before we move further? Let me teach you about the direction first. So we have four prominent or four important directions. They are your north, your south, east, and west. So we can tell it as your news as well. So this got direction has got a different name also. One is your cardinal direction, which comprises of your north, south, east, and west. Likewise, we got different directions as well, which are your northwest, northeast, southeast, and southwest. They are called as your intermediate direction. Now, as I told you, your latitudes will be passing from your east to west direction. So what happens is from your eastern direction towards your western direction, there are imaginary horizontal lines passing your Earth's surface. So this is how the imaginary latitudinal lines will be passing over. So they will be helping. What does this actually latitude do is they will be helping you to measure the distance from your north or south of the equator. So, to identify or to get a more depth about it, let's find what a equator is. So, yes. So, the equator is having 0 degree latitude. So, especially what happens with the equator is equator help the earth to divide into two equal halves. So we can say this particular half as northern hemisphere and this particular half as southern hemisphere. So this is how the globe is actually, or the earth is actually divided into. So equator is the line which divides the earth into two equal half. One half is your northern hemisphere, the other half is your southern hemisphere. So that is what a equator will be doing. Equator is yet again a latitude. So important latitude, I told that equator is one. We got different other important latitude also. Let's look into that. So we got four other latitudes which are equal has equal importance like equator. So one is your Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, Arctic Circle, and Antarctic Circle. These are the four other important latitudes which are found along with your equator. So one is Tropic of Cancer, another one is Tropic of Capricorn, Arctic Circle, and Antarctic Circle. So we came across these five different kind of latitudes. Why are we required to use these latitudes? Why it is important to actually use these latitudes? It is because the Earth receives different, Earth receives sunlight which is actually uneven. It is not evenly producing. The sunlight won't be, the Earth won't, every area won't be receiving the sunlight at the same time. It will be receiving at the uneven time. So we divide it into different heat zones. So what happens? We divide the Earth into different kind of heat zones. So totally there are three major heat zones around our Earth. So they are as follows, like your torrid zone, your temperate zone, and lastly your frigid zone. This is how the zones are being divided into. So let's look into each zones. So first one, your torrid zone. So torrid zone, this is the hottest zone right between your two tropics. So we can find that Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. In between that, we got our torrid zone. So why we call this particular zone as very hottest region is because this particular area will be receiving the direct sunlight of our sun. So direct sunlight, I'm sorry, direct sunlight. That's the reason why this particular region is actually very hottest in nature. So it is between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Moving ahead, we have the second one called as our temperate zone. So temperate zone is actually a moderate kind of climate. It is between the tropic and even your Arctic and Antarctic circle. So it is between your these tropics and as well as your Arctic and Antarctic circle. So what happens is why does this particular area gets a moderate kind of climate is because this area will be receiving a slanting rays of sun. It won't be getting a direct sunlight, but receiving a slanting kind of sunlight. That's the reason why they are getting a moderate climate. Moderate climate in the sense it will be not too hot, not too cold. So last lead is about your frigid zone. This is the last zone. What happens here is it is actually towards your polar region. So what happens here? Only a few or only a, they won't be receiving any kind of direct sunlight here. Only a moderate kind of or a very little sunlight only they'll be getting. So since they are receiving only very little sunlight, here the area would be freezing cold throughout the year. That's the reason why we call it as a cold region. So it's near your polar region. So these are the three different kind of zones we are got. One is your one is your torrid zone, one is your temperate zone, and lastly we have our frigid zone as well. So let's move ahead. So now we got understood about different kind of zones. Here's a big question. Why do we require to use this particular latitude or why it is important to use these latitudes? Why? Because it helps us to measure the place from the equator, like from your north or the south. As I taught you before about the equator, equator will be dividing our earth into two equal half. One is your northern hemisphere, another one is the southern hemisphere. So likewise, it will be so with the help of the latitude, we can easily measure the distance or measure the place or measure where the exact places are located from your north and from your south. It will be helping us to determine the climate of an area or a region as shared or as I taught you in the previous slide, that different zones are in. So the latitudes will be helping us in determining the climate of an area and even help us locating different places accurately on a map or a globe along with the longitudes. So what happens is we do have different kind of coordinates. So we have latitudes as well as longitude together. What happens? The coordinates will be able to identify or locate the different places along the map. It will be influencing the day length and the angle of sunlight, affecting different seasons. Likewise, I told you about the heat zones, right? So latitudes will be affecting the different seasons as well. So these are the things why it makes latitude a important concept. So here we come to the end of the video. So in this particular video, we shared about the globe. We came across the globe, what a globe does. It is actually the true model of the Earth. And we came across the important latitude called as equator, having 0 degree latitudinal line. Lastly, we came about the true importance and meaning of the latitude, and we came across that distance between north and south we can actually measure using our latitude. And lastly, we even came across the heat zones, like how the latitudes help us to identify different kind of heat zones and how the latitude affects the climate or seasons, etc. So thank you everyone for watching out the video. And before I end the video, I'd like to ask you a question. So comment your answers below. So one place you think lies in the torrid zone, one place in the temperate zone, and one place in the frigid zone. So let's see how many of you get the all the three answers correct. Comment that down below. So thank you so much for watching out the video. Part 2 of this is coming out very soon. So stay curious and get ready to explore more about interesting facts about geography in the our next lessons as well. And if you like this video, do share, do subscribe, and do comment down below and like this video. Thank you so much.